Welcome. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. We always say that. So we have some different faces. One face actually, different positions. We switched it up a little bit. First of all, welcome back. It's good to be with you guys and to feel you again and to read your questions again. Of course, we're looking at the Facebook page all the time. We have some impressions. One of those people that is also interested in constantly looking at the Facebook page, and for the last few lessons he's been behind this wall that you can't see, is our friend Johnny. Hey Johnny, what's up? Tell us a little bit. What's going on? Where are you from? Who are you?
Okay, hi everybody. Nice to be here today with everyone. Morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are around the world. Bit of background about myself. I've known Chris many years. We've studied together, of course. I was born in South Africa. Grew up there at the age of 12. Left, went to live in Australia, and I've been studying Kabbalah for about 13 years. Started at somebody's house in Sydney. I was one of the first ones at the centre in Sydney, Australia. And then I've been living in Israel. I've been living in Israel for about 13 years as well. 12 years. And love the wisdom of Kabbalah. It's given me a lot in my life. And happy to be here with you tonight and today.
Yes, that's true. He's been with us for a really long time. He's a really good friend. He's a really devoted friend. And we really enjoy having him with us. So yes, he says he's been here for a long time. Kabbalah's had a big impact on his life, and it's been mentioned that Kabbalah's, it's not like there's no other word really that describes it that comes close to really to really understanding what it is at the end of the day. It becomes a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle. It's just a way that you live your life. It's a way that you perceive life. And so we're just going to try to really sharpen the definition of Kabbalah. Hopefully every lesson that we have, you'll have a greater and greater understanding of what the wisdom is, what Kabbalah is, how do I use it even practically. Even if I understand a lot about it, it still doesn't make sense because I don't know how to use it. All these things we'll break open, we'll open them and explore them and make a little bit more sense of them. So today is just another aspect, and it's just a fundamental. This is the fundamentals course. And so this is a fundamental element in the wisdom of Kabbalah. And so today we're talking about from love of others to love of the Creator. You may have heard that before. Maybe it makes sense to you. Maybe it doesn't make sense to you. Hopefully today you'll see kind of how this component fits into the whole system. And hopefully you'll feel that it's a crucial component and really the bedrock of the entire, of what gives you that little rope from above and you're able to grab it, this topic and this subject and this fundamental idea that you have to work with others in order to attain the Creator, that needs to be, you'll constantly forget it and you'll constantly misunderstand it and you'll constantly be confused by it. So don't worry about misunderstanding it or not knowing what it is or being confused by it this time, because you constantly will be each and every day anew. That's good, that's healthy, but we at least want to talk about it and get it started. But before we do that, let's just talk about a little bit what we talked about last time. I don't know, I think we actually took a vacation. I think we were on...
Yep.
Yeah?
Yep.
We missed a week.
Yeah, we missed a week. Look.
Yom Kippur, yeah?
That's right.
Okay.
Had a couple of holidays last week, so...
Yeah, it's been busy.
Back in the swing this week, yes.
So then it's good that we'll just talk briefly about what we talked about last time, because we have actually a lot of material, and I want to get the questions. Oh, this is good. I'll mention this right now. I want to get the questions that are really pertinent to the topic, because we aren't going to have so much time for questions because there's a lot of reading and there's a lot of material. So many questions that I do take, I really want them to be on topic. So whatever you can send, still send your impressions and send whatever you can, but the questions that we'll take probably will be something that is a real applicable question that can be applied and something that's close to you guys. So just keep that in mind when you're sending in questions. So last time we talked about the root and branch and the worlds of roots and branches and how the upper world is what we call the roots, the spiritual world. From that stems down finally into corporeality, which we call the corporeal world, which is opposite of the spiritual world. So we said that there are things in this world that only exist necessarily as a result of things that are happening in the upper worlds. We don't understand that. We don't see it. It's not clear to us why things happen or where they come from. But if we were to understand the upper roots of each action and each object and each movement in our world, if we were to attain the root of those actions, just like if you were able to find the root of any problem, you could solve any problem with a solution because you understand the root of it. You understand where it comes from, so you know what to fix. You can use that same analogy. If you understand the root of everything in our world, then you'll know how to behave. You know how to avoid problems. You'll know how to not be confused. You'll understand what this entire infrastructure that nature has built to harvest this thing called the created being who wants to finally come into attainment with its creator. You'll want to be a part of that, and you'll want to see how you need to work with it. And these are all just, they're just rules, basically. So we learned about how those rules are situated in our world and how maybe we should relate to some of the things that we read when they talk about roots and branches. When there's confusing texts, maybe that you read in the Torah or the Zohar or any of these books that we read from sometimes that have a language that's a bit mysterious to us. They're talking about the spiritual roots, and they're not talking about the physical things in our world, and so that confuses us, but we just need to constantly come back to the idea that none of it is talking about things that happen physically in this world. It's always referring to the root. It's always referring to the spiritual interpretation of the word. So these are just things that we just need to overcome and understand, and basically just change what we were brought up to learn. And because it should be a little bit naturally clear to you inside that that there is something deeper to the text that you're not able to understand, but you want to understand. So that's basically what we're hitting at. To kind of help us get into the topic of our lesson, it's always good to hear from our Rav, Michael Lightman. And so, if we can, Hezi, can we go to the first clip, How Do I Depict the Creator?
We need to depict the Creator as the quality of bestowal, and not according to the way it seems to people, that it's some image or a body, or I don't know how each person imagines to himself. The quality of bestowal which dwells between people, because we don't reveal him in any other way, and we can't talk in another way without an image or a body or any other imagination other than the quality. And therefore, when we talk about bringing contentment to the Creator, meaning to come to a state in which the quality of bestowal will be beloved on us, that we will want to dwell in it, or for it to dwell in us. The quality of reception and the quality of bestowal. That's what there is. All the things outside of that are already our imagination. That's the imagination.
All right, great. Hey, I hope that will give you a little bit of an idea of what we're going to be talking about today. The Creator doesn't expect anything from us, really. He's this. He's a law that constantly bestows and has this entire mechanism that's built in order to develop this creature that he wanted to bestow to and bring that into perfection. So he doesn't. I say he, but it's just a force. It's a simple law, and it's a difficult thing to do, but we have to slowly start changing our intention, our direction. We need to adjust our inner compass to start looking at the things that we're learning in the wisdom of Kabbalah as really learning a system and learning a structure of set laws. And if you can stick to that, that kind of picture of the world that the Kabbalists are building for us and they're trying to depict to us, if you always have that in the back of your mind a little bit, then it really helps you stay focused and not stray and start doing all kind of philosophizing and guessing and wanting to put things together and to try to understand them in your mind. And that can set you back a long time, and it can make you very confused, and then you can talk to others about it and it can confuse them. So it's just thinking about this spiritual world and the behavior of these forces on us from above. These are simply laws. There's no like mercy, like if I act better then I'll be treated differently. The thing is that I'm the one that needs to change. I need to change my intention. I need to change my that's not my desire, it's my what do I want, how do I want to be fulfilled? Do I want to be fulfilled because I want to be fulfilled and that's satisfying to me? Or can I start to differentiate the difference between the one who's giving to me in my world, giving to me the way that I feel in my life? Do I want to start symbolizing myself to him? Do I want to be like him? That's this inner kind of emotional must that I feel upon myself. And slowly through the wisdom of Kabbalah, you will get this drawing. You don't know where it comes from, but it becomes more important to you than anything to develop that within you. And the faster you can get to that, the better. And so sticking with this idea that you're facing just a system and laws, and if it's acting upon you, and you have a certain way that you can act upon it, and that's the only way it works. So stick to that, and try. And if you want to expand on something, then make sure that it fits that kind of template. Anyways, Johnny, do you have anything you want to say?
Just wanted to add. Chris explained that really, really well. One of the great things I love about the wisdom is that it's very practical. It's based, you go through different emotions, you go through different experiences, you relate it to your day-to-day life, how you view things, how you view work, how you view family, how you view all things of this world, but you maybe look at it from a different perspective, from a spiritual perspective instead of just an inverted commas an earthly perspective. So it's really fascinating internal journey that a person goes through in order to get closer to something above themselves, above the physical, above their earthly nature, so to speak. So we'll get into more, I'm sure there's more in-depth topics about the separation of body and the soul, things of that nature. But that's what I love about it, that you have a connection with people, start feeling each other in a different way, in an internal way, through the heart, through one's emotions. And those types of senses within oneself really sharpens up and becomes stronger as you study the wisdom as time goes by. And you become maybe a little bit more sensitive person, more aware, more... Maybe wise is not the right word, but you can actually see where things are placed in terms of life.
You're talking about because you see that it's a system. If you know how to act, and then you'll know how to behave in order to advance the way that you want to advance.
Yeah.
And it's a symptom. It's a result of the study. It's not that you choose to start thinking this way. Just your perception is broadened, and everything. It's not that you can tell the future or you are some master at life, but you're changing your attitude to life, and that's the important thing. You're changing the way that you relate to the things that are being given to you, to the things that you're seeing, to the things that you experience, to the things that you feel. It's only that shift in attitude which is called the inner man, the one that connects to this world of infinity. It's through that. Through this pipeline called your attitude towards others, which is what which starts from this tiny speck, this tiny dot that doesn't have any desire to do anything, and expands into a infinite desire that wants to infinitely fulfill others. and by that feel infinite life himself. So we want to always go back to our sources, and we always want to, on 571, we always want to go to where our teacher got the method passed down to him and his teacher's teacher. And so it's just to remember that this is not, these aren't just some regular people writing about something. These are people who are writing from an attained perspective, from an attained attitude in life. They've attained a different attitude, which is similar to the Creator. And each word that we read, it comes from that spot. And if we want to have a change within us, then we need to aspire to the things that they have attained, and that will shine upon us. That's called the reforming light. We've talked about that, and we'll talk about it a lot more later. Can you read the passage here, item number 13? Guys, we're on page 571 in Kabbalah for the Student. If you don't have this book, this is the green book that everyone always shows. Yes, it's that book. It's very green, and it's very big, and it's very important. And so we're going to 571 here. This is, yes, it's the preface to the Wisdom of Kabbalah. It's article, the thought of creation in the 4 phases of direct light, item 13.
Okay, great. Okay, so item 13. The thing is that as corporal objects are separated from one another by remoteness or location, spirituals are separated from each other by the disparity of form between them. This can be found in our world too. For example, when two people share similar views, they like each other, and the remoteness of location does not cause them to draw far from one another. Conversely, when their views are far, they are hateful of each other, and proximity of location will not bring them any closer. Thus, the disparity of form in their views removes them from each other, and the proximity of form in their views brings them closer to each other. If, for example, one's nature is the complete opposite of another's, they are as far from one another as the east from the west. Similarly, all matters of nearness and remoteness, coupling and unity that unfold in spirituality are but measures of disparity of form. They depart from one another according to their measure of disparity of form, and become attached to one another according to the measure of equivalence of form. Yet, you should understand that although the will to receive is a mandatory law in the creature, as it is the essence of the creature.
Sorry, can I stop you?
Yeah, sure.
I just want to focus on this part right now. This is the main chunk of the text here. So where he said, if you can go back to yet you should understand. This is what we want to pull from this clip, because right now we want to jump into a topic that shows us that any image or depiction of the Creator that we might have had before, it doesn't matter where it came from our past lives, from some kind of upbringing or something I read online. However, each day this depiction of the Creator is changing within me. And so here we want to really define what it is that's called the Creator and how can we attain it. And it's only, just like we spoke about and what I was trying to hammer in, that this is a system. So if you want to attain something that within that system, you need to understand how that system works, and you need to approach it correctly. So right here we're talking about the approach in the Wisdom of Kabbalah, the approach to attainment, the approach to development of man, this is the approach to the meaning of life. And we don't want to be mistaken when we are going after the Creator. We want to know exactly where it is that we're heading, and we have to go there with full confidence, and we need to do it with all of our heart and with every bit of power that we have within us, and do that in the correct direction. If we do it in the wrong direction, then we're wasting time, we're getting blows, we're getting very confused, we're dropping off the path, and it just, you end up at square one again. And so it's very important to be aimed, and it's very important to have the correct aim in the Wisdom of Kabbalah. And when we talk about going after the Creator and wanting to reveal the Creator and wanting to find Him and wanting to catch Him, then it's done in the relation between one thing and its opposite. So right now we're entering into what you could say is the perception of reality. I have this ego that's inside of me, and I only want for myself. That's all that it'll understand. It's all it knows. And if it knew a little bit of something else, it would already perceive the Creator. But because it's this black point and it has nothing inside of it, it has no way of knowing what it is or what anything else is, just like in space, the only way that I can see anything is that there's a light and there's something that reflects off that, reflects the light off. I'm able to see that there's an object there. If I want to clean my house, I need to turn the light on in order to see all the dirt. Rabash uses this example. So here we're saying, if I'm one quality, if I'm not the Creator, how can I discover what the opposite of that is? Well, I need to know my oppositeness first. How do I know my oppositeness? How much I need to know how opposite I am before I can even discover. And I need to know that I'm opposite before I can even start thinking in the correct direction of how to get the opposite of what I am, which is the Creator, who is bestowing, and I'm the creature who is receiving. So we have to enter into a world where I start relating to things only in order for them to show me that I'm incorrect, or that I'm this little bit flawed here, or I'm a little bit mistaken here. And all that work is done in your relation between friends, but between people who are studying Kabbalah, who want to mutually find the Creator and discover the Creator. And so we don't want to get confused. That's the one place it happens. That's where we'll do it. And we want to define that early on, and we don't want to make any mistakes about it. So again, here we go. Yet you should understand.
Okay. Yet you should understand that although the will to receive is a mandatory law in the creature, as it is the essence of the creature and the proper kli for reception of the goal of the thought of creation, it nonetheless completely separates it from the emanator. This is so because there is a disparity of form.
Disparity of form. What's disparity of form? We talked about equivalence of form, yeah? What's equivalence of form? It's the fact that, it's like you read earlier, that there's a distance between two objects in space. We've used this example many times. Distance between two objects. I have my phone and a pen, put them together, they're close. Are these close together? They're about as close together as they can get. In quality, however, they are very distant. That is how we start fine-tuning our senses in entering the spiritual world. We want to change our quality, and by that we'll be able to sense other qualities. If we want to have, first of all, if we're given the quality of reception, the only way that I can sense something else is if I'm given that. I am the will to receive. I have nothing else. I have no power to get anything else, but I have to be given it. So this comes from drawing this future. We can say that it's the future. It's this future state of our future connection that I have with the friends, with the group, this kli that I've formed. I'm yearning for that all the time. And if I don't yearn for that state, which is similar to the Creator, then I'm in disparity of form. I'm in disparity of form. So that's what's called disparity of form, that I'm not aimed for that. I'm in a complete opposite state. And if I'm in disparity of form, then I have no sense of it. So go ahead, sorry. The disparity of form.
Okay. This is so because there's a disparity of form to the point of oppositeness between itself and the emanator. This is because the emanator is complete bestowal without a shred of reception, and the creature is complete reception without a thread of bestowal. Thus, there is no greater oppositeness of form than that. It therefore follows that this oppositeness of form necessarily separates it from the emanator.
Yeah. There's no way to convey a feeling. There's no way to convey from a mother what to a man what it's like to be a mother, or even the opposite way around. There's no way to convey what the quality of bestowal is when you are in the quality of reception.
You'd like to get some questions on that topic, if you like, or we can wait?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Just one or two, because we still have like 3 pages of material.
All right, sure. Okay, there's some very nice questions already come in from friends from around the world. Omid from Iran says, how can I ensure that I really love people and I do not pretend?
I'll tell you, because you're for sure pretending. And you'll be pretending from here until you're there. And how do you know that you're there? You're there when you'll know that you're there. That's the whole point of reading Kabbalistic texts, because right now they don't make sense to us, and we can imagine that maybe they do make sense to us. We're imagining that we're given this thing called the imagination, and that's something that we need to use. If we don't use this imagination, then we have no way of knowing. We have nothing to aspire towards. And there's many examples of that. You know, before you go to college or something, and you're imagining your next new job. And that image, that you're able to attach to that image in the future, you're able to hold on to that state, that you imagine yourself as something new and greater and bigger, you're aspiring towards that, and you actually can receive forces from that future state in order to complete a task. And it can be over many, many years. Doctors who were in school for 15 years or something, they're holding on to that end goal. And by the way, that's something that separates us from the animal realm. They're unable to make this future state kind of thing. Although I did see that there was a bird that could solve this puzzle with 7 steps. It had to follow 7 steps. Maybe that's a little bit different. But anyways, when we're talking about longing for a goal, and how do I know that I really love people and I'm not pretending, you are a will to receive, and you only want for yourself. Anything that you're doing to other people in the outside world, that's just simply for your own benefit. That should be something very clear in anyone who studies the wisdom of Kabbalah. Not because they heard the rule and now they want to abide by it. It becomes a rule because it becomes a law of nature. You examine a law of nature. How are you examining a law of nature? Examining a law of nature on yourself. You're seeing how nature acts on you and makes you react a certain way. If I'm input or kind of impulse that I receive from the outside world, I'm putting that through my decoding machine and saying, how do I need to react to it? How do I need to behave? And it's always going to be for my own benefit. That's for sure 100%. But that brings us despair, and we can no longer enjoy from this life anymore. So we want to aspire towards a different life, a different way of receiving.
Okay, there's another question, Chris, here from TV. I'm not sure who that is, from South Africa. What does it mean to love others? I'll just add something briefly. The topic of love is very, very important, and the topic of bestowal is very critical in the wisdom of Kabbalah. It's not love of this world as we know it, and as we've talked about here, our nature is a desire to receive, and we want to do things to make ourselves feel good. And that's okay. That's the nature that we've been given from above. But the wisdom is about the method of transforming that nature from a desire to receive to a desire to receive in order to bestow. Now, the bestowing part, I think we'll talk about it as time goes on. It's something that happens above the body, and we'll talk about how that happens. I don't want to go into too much depth now, but it's something that's takes on, in essence, the attribute or the nature of the Creator. Okay, that bestowing quality. So it happens above one's physical body, essentially in another domain. And this comes back to the separation of the body and the soul, which topics we will investigate later. But the topic of love is really good, really critical here. If I'm going to ask another question here, Chris, really briefly, Hartwig from South Africa is also asked on the same topic. Why is the statement from love of others to the love of the Creator? Can't we just go to the love of the Creator direct?
Hardwick, yes. Why is the statement from love of others to the love of the Creator? Why can't we just say to the love of the Creator?
Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly the topic of today's lesson. Why can't I just say, okay, Creator, you're over there, and that's what and I want to love you. I want to, whatever I want to say to myself to calm myself down a little bit, because I have this burning thing inside of me that wants to enjoy it in a different way. That's good. That's healthy. But that's not how the system works. The more that you're in it, and the more that you understand how it's built in order to make you behave a certain way, the more of course it's barely nothing at the beginning of the ladder here, but you already begin to just have an amazement for how, you say the word genius, but that's not really, it doesn't really even really describe it. It still, that ascribes something to kind of the human mind, still like, oh, he's a very genius, he's very smart, but talking about here something that's just so complex and so just infinite that that you feel it as just so high, just so above you. You're so small, and it's just, you're like nothing compared to this huge thing that's operating you, and it actually has a relationship with you. It has an attitude towards you, and it wants you. It has this care for you, and you've just been ignoring it your whole life. And but that's fine. That's how development happens. But the way to enter that system, the way to have an attitude towards it, the way that not that it wants you to. It does want you to, but it actually comes from yourself in the end, because there is this aspect of independence that has to exist. At the end of the day, you will want to come to it. You will want to come to it. And the ones that are here studying with us right now are here because they're ready to go through the path. They're ready to enter the path, and that you have what it takes to endure what's called to be a part of the nation of Israel, which has to basically do the work. And what is the work? The work is attainment of the Creator through love of friends. It doesn't work any other way. This is why all of Israel are brothers. This is how it says in the Torah. This is why the state of Israel has to be a nation into the light. Of course, we're talking about Israel as the point in the heart, not as the state or the country. We're talking about this group of people, this group of souls, this points of heart, the points in the heart that want to amass into this soul, that to reform this complete adhesion with the Creator. It has a calling from this dormant, sleepy, beastly life for a couple of thousand years, and it wants to awaken to that again, and it wants to come together again, and it wants to enjoy life the way that the Creator wants them to enjoy life, because they've forgotten about it for a long time. And if you were awakened now, that's a sign that you need to enter a group, and you need to start working on changing your attitude towards the giver. Right now, your attitude is how much can I take and how much can I enjoy, and your attitude needs to be how much can I be like the Creator and give. And that's not something that you can just want really bad and then it'll happen, or imagine to yourself. It's something that you have to build within yourself, and when you're in a group, you then you're given the laboratory and the tools necessary to change yourself, and there's no other way to do it. Can we read?
Yeah, sure.
Wait, sorry, I'm sorry.
There's one or two sentences.
There's one more thing, but and this, no, we've already passed that. Sorry, we can't go back to that. But there's one more thing before we go to the next reading. But this is in social reading, the social writing. So I'll just give you this page and you can read it because my mouth is.
Sure.
So connected to that, Hardwick, thank you for the good question. That's the question of the lesson. Really, that's the topic. We need to. This is the whole work. Okay, this is the whole work. The whole work is coming from a place of complete lack of knowledge, complete lack of desire. You have no understanding of how to implement and practice practical Kabbalah. You're given what feels like nothing, and that nothing is just this point in the heart that scooted you towards the wisdom, and somehow you found it. said the Creator puts your hand on the good fate and tells you to take it. So let's say you took it. Let's say after this course, for sure this is what you've been missing in life, and you have to keep it, and you're not leaving it. That's what it means that you've taken it. But the rest is up to us to do work and discover it by ourselves. Discover the rest of the abundance by ourselves. And that's the whole point, is that we discover it by ourselves. This is it's a topic that will come back on itself many times. The fact that it couldn't just be given to us. It's something that we have to find from being distant from it. There's a parable about a king who wanted to do good to his son by keeping him in the basement and locked in there. And it's kind of a long parable, so to shorten it, he basically was kept in the dark, and the king had, of course, the entire land, all the land, the kingdom, and luxury and wealth and whatever. But his son didn't know about it, and he wanted to keep him. He wanted him to be able to enjoy it. He wanted him to come from a place of darkness and a place of really just hell, to experience full abundance and full pleasure. And it's clear to us that if you are born into wealth, then you don't have the same gauge, you don't have the same appreciation, you don't have the same perspective. You're just very narrow-minded. You're not. I'm not saying that a person's narrow-minded who's born into wealth, but I'm trying to generalize the idea that you can't perceive what a person who came from the bottom up instead of who came from the bottom from the top looking down. So that's all the work, is that we are building it by ourselves, and we're in the darkness, and by that we're actually being rewarded with these kelim, called vessels. We're rewarded with them, meaning we're working for them, and then we have something for the abundance to enter into. We have something that we're bringing to this system and saying, fill this. And it only works with a kli. It only works with a vessel, which is the correct connection between people. And if that's the first time you're starting to put this together, that's great. We need to hold on to that dot and really stay focused on it, because that's something that evades us throughout your whole existence on the path. Because your egos wants you to forget about that and really strays you in every way. So we need to understand, first of all, how opposite we are to the one that's giving us this reality, providing us with everything that we're sensing and feeling. And we need to start feeling how detached we are, how opposite we are from that. And that eventually is what will create in us a desire to be the opposite. Because once we start feeling how opposite we are from something, if you can start to grasp this idea a little bit, this concept, once you start to feel how opposite you are to something else, it's not that it's like you start, okay, so say that you start scooting away from something, and then the farther you get, it's actually the more clear that it is. I don't know how to put that really into a practical example, but that's just how it works. The farther that you get away, meaning the deeper in your ego, the more ego that you discover, meaning my relation between others isn't what I thought it was. I thought I was a very good person. I thought I was ready to reveal the Creator any day. Instead, the Creator's giving me, he's widening my eyes to how opposite I am from that, how I'm not able to do that. So that's our whole work. That's what the work in the group is. That is from love of others to love of the Creator, meaning I see how opposite I am. I see how distant I am from this thing called the quality of bestowal. Even though I don't know what it is, I just know that I am just so deep and so will to receive, and I'm just not capable of doing it. And from this inner despair, I'm able to appreciate then the quality of bestowal. Whereas right now in my state, I could say I appreciate the quality of bestowal, but I really don't, because I just care about my body. I care about how I'm fulfilled, and I care about how good I feel, and I could really care less about the quality of bestowal. Unfortunately, that's why we need to have this work in the group, and it shows to us, and it gives us really a new desire, and that desire that it builds in us, that desire that we attain by revealing how bad we are, whatever, opposite to the Creator, by revealing how bad we are. That gives us that gives us the revelation of the Creator, because we're able to ask.
Just to add something to what Chris is saying, is that a person that typically comes to the wisdom of Kabbalah is a person, as you've heard in earlier lessons, is a person that's not satisfied with all that they have in this life. Earthly desires. They need something. They feel something's missing. They need something more. So typically, the people who do come to the wisdom are typically people who have quite a big desire to receive. They have a fairly big ego, etc., and that's okay. It's healthy. It's all given to us from the Creator, and it is our nature. It's a question: is what do we do with that ego? What do we do with that desire to receive? And this method is exactly that. It's a science that teaches us on how to redirect our desire to receive in order to get closer to something higher than this reality, which is essentially the Creator. This oppositeness of form and the revelation of evil, sometimes it's difficult for people to accept that the ego is getting bigger, etc. But it's okay, because you're working in an environment, you work in a group of friends, you've got a method that teaches you how to address your growing ego and all the questions that you have within yourself. And you see that through the lessons, etc.
No, but that's a little deep, Johnny. That's a little deep. That's you don't need to. We're not entering a group right now. We're not doing all these things that that you'll be able to jump from 1 to 125 in the next couple of days. This this teaching is something that it's like childhood. You have to just learn through experience in childhood. When you're going out into the playground and playing around, no one can just tell you what it's going to be like to go out there in the playground and experience all the things that you would experience. You actually, part of childhood and part of growing up to be the person that you are from those things in the sandbox, are from those experiences, in high school or whatever, things that you have to experience. So everything that we're learning on paper is great for knowledge and knowing what you need to do, but it's really just, it's for when you get out there, when you get into the sandbox, when you get into the real world, when you get into the group, is what I'm trying to say. And you can implement those things there. But it's more important at this point to establish, get your roots on the ground. Know, okay, wisdom of Kabbalah. If I want the Creator, then I enter a group, and I have to get it from love of friends, because by love of friends I come to love of the Creator. That just is a law. That's something I need to accept. I don't need to start worrying about how I act in a group right now. I don't need to start worrying about how how I'm gonna on Facebook. I'm typing something. Is that bad? Is that good? How is it? How are they gonna? Am I disobeying laws in the group or something like that? Right now, don't worry about anything. Just keep it very. You're in college for life. You're in a college for how to be in life, how to live life. And so we're not expecting you to go out and find a job right now. So don't worry about it. But can you read right now? Sure. Read this guy. This is from Rabash, the Social Writings. We don't have this book. We don't have the book. It's like a purplish, pinkish with gold letters on it, and it says Rabash, the Social Writings. You can get it at KabbalahBooks.info. It's on the bookstore. Sometimes it comes with the Kabbalah for the Student in a package. You can find it, but this excerpt right here is from that.
This one here.
Mm-hmm, yeah. So we're basically just going out here and understanding that, listen, guys, if we want to find the Creator, if we want to discover this new world, this existence, this infinity and eternal life, then it has to be done according to how the ones who attained it did it. And they're giving us the method. And so this is just kind of reiterating that, and then we'll go into questions and answers.
Okay, great. Hence, there is a question. What is the medium between truth and falsehood? What is the point that is made of discernments together? Before I clarify, I shall add another rule. It is known that it is impossible to see a small object and is easier to see a large object. Hence, when a person commits few lies, he cannot see the truth, that he is walking on a false path. Rather, he sees that he is walking on the path of truth. But there is no greater lie than that. And the reason is that he he does not have enough lies to see his true state. But when a person has acquired many lies, the lies grow in him to the extent that he can see them if he wishes. Thus, now that he sees the lies, that he's walking on a false path, he sees his true state. In other words, he sees the truth in his soul and how to turn to the right path. It follows at this point, which is a point of truth, that he is treading a false path, is the medium between truth and falsehood. This is the bridge that connects truth and falsehood. Excuse me. This point is also the end of the lie, and from here on begins the path of truth. Writings of Rabash, the Social Writings, letter number 16.
And Hezi, actually, I think now is a good point to play the traffic clip. I hope you can read in English because there's Hebrew text, and then there was English subtitles on top of that or below that. The traffic light. No, it's not the homework one. It says traffic light, I think. How's it written here? Oh, 1 second. Yeah, it's called Traffic Light Theater Lesson. If not, just let me know. It's not such a big deal. It's just to kind of like change it.
Šesto pekoronenom esto lekatereme. Šesto kopanenom. Šesto kopanenom. Šesto kopanenom.
To your enemies.
Let's take those. All right, so we got some questions, and I want to run through them now. We have some time, and I'm looking at this. We're gonna have a lot of time for questions. It went a lot slower than I thought. So let's just start with questions. I wanna like see how it was taken, how it was received.
Good. Okay. So I was just shooting the questions at Chris, and he loved them. So here we go, Chris.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to read a couple of questions because a lot of them flow on a similar theme about the nature of the Creator.
Okay.
Okay. Question number 1 from Jose Carlos Atiade from Spain, Portugal. Hello, Jose. Does the Creator have intelligence? Okay. TVSA says, how do I love the Creator without seeing Him? Marty.M.Meydan, Iranian, who lives in Turkey, says, would you please describe the word evil in Kabbalah?
Oh, those are great questions. Yes. So I got this fan like blowing right on my. It's not blowing right on my eyes. It's just drying my eyes out. No, but I think it's okay. If it was anywhere else, then I would start sweating. It's okay. Our air conditioning doesn't work in here. So the first one was about intelligence. The Creator's intelligence. Yeah. Who is this? Jose?
Yeah, Jose. Jose Carlos.
Yeah.
From Atiada in Spain. Also, we have another one. How do I fine tune to the Creator?
No. I want to answer the intelligence one. First of all, you kind of have to start redefining all the words that you previously knew. Like intelligence, because you're always ascribing that to some human attribute. But still, nonetheless, you can still be able to grasp it. I think the idea, which is there's this we call it atzmuto, which is His essence. This is where everything came from. This is where the thought of creation came from. This is where everything spilled out from all the worlds, created all of the kalim, all of the vessels, created all the connections and all the necessary ties and all the roots together in order for such an existence to occur. All of that stems from a point called Atzmoto, which is called his essence. No one talks about it, no one writes about it, no one says anything about it, because no one can say anything about it, no one can write about it, and no one can talk about it. It's a point that is the Creator, because we're not attaining, we say that we're attaining the Creator as if we are become Him, but we are Adam, we are Domé le Boré, we are similar to the Creator. Adam comes from the word Domé, if you've heard, from Domé, which is from similar to the Creator. And you're similar, you're like the Creator, you are not the Creator. And so what did the Creator create if He's just this quality of bestowal that is just a constant? It's not you could label it abundance, but if you label it abundance, then you're already ascribing something to the creature, to the will to receive, because only the creature who was created in order to feel abundance, to receive abundance, would say that there is abundance. Otherwise, it's just nothing. We don't know what it is. It's something outside of us. It's something that creates something. It's something that creates everything. I have a reaction to it. I feel a sting on my shoulder, and I have a reaction to it. I feel it. I have a certain relation to it, because if I feel it again, then I'll know that, hey, that was similar to that. So I have a certain taste. It leaves I have a certain attainment of that incident on my skin, on my life, some event that happened, anything. Those are all impressions in my kli, in my little personal will to receive, small thing that cannot receive any abundance and cannot reveal the Creator by itself, but it still is given this little illumination called the thin candle, which makes you feel like your life is a little bit worth it. Sometimes you get really excited about life and you're able to have a new job, go get a new car, enjoy from life and everything. Sometimes you hate life, but it basically keeps you there from killing yourself and wanting you not to die. And it keeps you right in this existence where you just don't know what life is, you don't know how to live, you want always more, but you can never really be satisfied. It's because you're this little point that can't feel anything and is not supposed to grow. It has to connect itself to other points in order to feel a larger and greater volume, if you want to say. So back to intelligence. What does that have to do with intelligence? We are only responding to actions upon us from above. That's all we do. We're responding to certain impulses. We are meant to develop in a certain way, and we're supposed to ride that train until perfect adhesion with the Creator. That's what's happening now. That's what's happening for the rest of humanity, and that's what will be happening until the end of correction, Matikun, which is what no one can write about, and no Kabbalists have write about it, because no one's attained it, because it has to happen only at the end of times, you can say, when all of the pieces of the shattered soul are brought back together and they're in complete adhesion. Right now it's just a small group, and there's a small little thing on internet site that's talking about the wisdom of Kabbalah and discovering the Creator. That's because it's not Gmar Tikkun yet. So what does that have to do with intelligence? It means that everything that there is intelligence. There's nothing but intelligence. There's nothing but love. There's nothing but bestowal. There's nothing but the giver. There's nothing but the emanator. There's nothing but the Creator. It's all the same. That whatever, we just are ascribing small little tastes, small little flavors in our world to something that's just an infinite one. We don't know how to describe it. We don't know how to feel it all at one time, so it's broken down into many flavors, and that's what we call life. And if we want a broader enjoyment in this existence, meaning we want more tastes, more flavors, then all we're doing is just understanding the thought of creation. That's all we're doing. We're understanding and we're attaining the thought of creation, the thought of the Creator to do good to His creatures. Because that's really what we want. We just want to understand what we're doing here, and we want to have fulfillment. If we were created in order to fulfill, to be fulfilled by this understanding of the thought of creation and being like the Creator and being at His stature, then it doesn't matter if there's intelligence. It doesn't matter what there is. Whatever's outside of me, I don't know. I'm just responding to its influence on me. And all I want to do is get closer and closer and closer to it. If it has intelligence, cool. If it doesn't, I don't know. It doesn't matter. There's just a path, and it gets you there. And almost all questions can be answered that way. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you know how to if you know how to work on practical Kabbalah, and you know how to be under the influence of this light that shines upon a person and changes them from the inside out, and creates in them a new quality, then if you know how to do that, if you have the method, then nothing really matters. Any questions, please ask all the questions. I'm just saying, in order to teach yourself, to give you the tools. Teach a man to fish, he can feed himself for a lifetime. If you give him a fish, if I give you an answer, then okay, I gave you an answer. But I want you to understand how to face these kind of questions in the future. You can answer them yourself by saying, listen, do I have the tools? Yes. Do I know how to get more influence to where I'm undergoing changes? Yes. Then that's all I can do. That's all you were given to do, by the way. That's all you need to do. You can, yeah, let's do the next question. Sorry, it took a while.
I just wanted to add something brief to that. The Kabbalists that wrote all these materials, they actually attained the attribute of the Creator. They attained the nature of the Creator. So within their own senses, they were able to write all these discernments about the behavior of the force of bestowal. What is the force of bestowal, and what is the spiritual worlds in a number of different ways, and unravelings and how they spoke in their texts. Now it's based on different levels of attainment, which some of them were very, very high. They were able to write these materials. But the important thing is that they attained the attribute of bestowal, of love, within themselves. From their own attainment, they were able to write these sources. Okay, yeah. Chris, if there's some really good questions here.
I think I want to answer more questions than add more components to what we're learning. 1 second.
Okay.
Let me look at really the end goal here is that we want to understand that attaining the Creator is only done by realizing a certain law, and that's what it comes down to at the bottom of the day. If you're not realizing that law, if you're not following its rules, let's say, then you're not going to reveal anything. And if you say, I haven't revealed anything, I don't understand, nothing's happening, that's because you're not that's that simple. That's why it really is a science. It's because you're not doing the right effort. You're not making the right motion. You're not aimed in the right direction. And that's, yes, what is that, an answer to a question?
Yeah, no, it's a very good question that Paul's asked in relation to what you said. Paul asked, Paul from the UK, yeah? Why does the ego rebel against the very thought of bestowal or love of others?
Yeah.
So our nature, essentially. Why is that the case?
It repels so that we'll understand that it repels. But we won't know that it repels unless we try. So the fact that you say that why does the ego rebel against every thought, that already means that you have started the work a little bit. That you wouldn't have been able to even recognize that. That wouldn't have been something, we call that a discernment. Where does a discernment come from? A discernment, and you'll hear that a lot in the daily lessons, you'll hear that a lot in kind of the reading and the lectures. A discernment is a result of making a scrutiny, which is... A scrutiny is I'm making an effort. A scrutiny is it's already a result. It's already the first action to cause a scrutiny to gain a discernment was an action. If I make an action, then my will to receive automatically objects and makes a calculation. I then will receive that calculation and I'll say, wait a second, was it worth it for me to do that? And then you start having an inner dialogue. Well, it was worth it because this is my effort, this is my goal, this is what I wanted to do. And then you'll say, but wait, no, you were actually in this thought, so you didn't want that. Or maybe you're thinking, oh, that wasn't completely the right way, that's not what I thought it was. So then you're doing the scrutiny, and you achieve a discernment. The discernment at the end of the day is that my ego is blocking me from coming to love of others. And that's what happens. You come to that same discernment every time. So you say, well, wait a second. So I already know, I've done this 1,000 times. Now I'm on the 1,001st time. And I don't understand. I'm trying to come to love of others, and I know that by making these attempts, I will eventually come to it. But this is already 1,001 times. So shouldn't I be getting to it already? Like, maybe I'm not doing the right thing. Exactly. That is the work. That is the desire to come to do this work, to sweat, and in that sweat, each sweat you get a little bit of a different flavor. You open up like a new a slight a cross section. You gain a new slice out of the cross section of your will to receive, and you gain a little bit of depth, and in that depth you understand that you are farther away from the quality of the soul than you thought you were, but at the same time, you feel that your perception of reality has expanded. You gained a little bit more knowledge about reality. You gained a little bit more about how the Creator plays with you. And you feel it exactly that way. Now maybe that's a little bit more advanced, maybe along the way, because there's a lot of, you have to make a lot of actions, and you have to accumulate a lot of experience. You hear over and over again, there's none as wise as the experienced. Why is that something? Why is that a principle? It's a principle because when you're 80 years old, you've lived out something, you've undergone maybe the same thing a million times. But from that undergoing that same thing a million times, you've learned what people would call a lifetime of experience. And so that's the same thing in wisdom of Kabbalah. But we come into the wisdom of Kabbalah thinking that we're like, oh man, well, I've discovered something huge. It's like I'm very important. I'm the one now holding the great wisdom, and I am above, and I'm bigger, and a lot of the times you see yourself above other people, on the outside, like, wow, look what I discovered, and you're too small that you don't understand, and all that stuff. Those are natural reactions as well. It's a very it's very, if you think about it, that ends up being very egoistic, but that's good. That's a good revelation. But really, at the end of the day, you just need to make these efforts, and by them you will feel eventually a want, a true need out of nothing. It only came from being discouraged from not getting the thing that you wanted, which was the quality of the soul. And by this kind of fake playing of wanting to get something that you don't want, because that's what you're being shown. I have an ego, and it doesn't want it. But the ego controls me. So how did it let me make that action in the first place? Because it actually wants something bigger, but it has to show you over and over and over again. And you have to want from yourself to want something else, to want a different quality called the quality of the soul, which is the Creator. Which is why you can't just trick yourself. You have to go through these. You have to press the button however many times you're supposed to press the button, and you'll gain from that. Go ahead.
Chris, just two things here. The Berit from Norway asked, could you be so kind and tell the page number in Kabbalah for the student reading from this evening? Clearly. So I apologize for my
the moderator should have put it in there, maybe. Oh, you were the moderator. That's why. That's fine. Usually I have a moderator, and that's him back there putting all the page numbers and stuff.
So it's page 570 in Kabbalah for the student, and it's number 13, which is at the bottom of the page, bottom left-hand side.
And just to emphasize,
page
Hezi,
570.
Thanks. That's Kabbalah for a student, and then the next one is Rabash.
So
that's the Rabash articles, and so you'll definitely need that for the next semester if you want to be with us, and I think also a little bit in this semester.
And then there was another question. The person didn't write their name; they just said @ So it was.
He knows who he is. She knows who she is.
Yeah, it's all good. Are we going to have different teachers throughout the course?
Well, you'll have different teachers. Well, you've had different teachers already. But Mulu will be back, I think, next week, maybe?
Yeah, I think next week or the week after.
Yeah. What's up? What else?
Yeah, okay. We have a lot of questions here.
Oh, did you not have one ready? Because we do have a reading, a little bit of a reading, if you can read.
Maybe we can. The other ones go on to talk about prayer, and they talk about everyday people and how your relations to them in the study of the wisdom of Kabbalah, how to treat them. So it's a little bit related, but not 100% to the topic of love.
Okay, so then let's read this. This is perfect. Let's read this, and I'll just preface this with going back to the idea that that the friends, this attitude towards the friends, this kind of work that I'm doing there, that's my lab. That's where I reveal it, and that's where all these changes take place. That's where I reveal all these changes. And so we have a reading from where is it from? This is from the Rabash writings, the last book that you saw. So this is from there. An excerpt from there.
Great. Okay. Okay. We should know that there's a virtue to love of friends. One cannot deceive himself and say that he loves the friends, if in fact he doesn't love them. Here he can examine whether he truly has love of friends or not. But with the love of the Creator, one cannot examine oneself as to whether his intention is the love of the Creator, meaning that he wants to bestow upon the Creator, or his desire to receive in order to receive. This is from Kabbalah Library Home, Baruch Shalom Halavi Ashlag, Rabash, writings of Rabash, Rabash's social writings, Come unto Pharaoh 2.
Very good, Johnny. Thank you. Do you have some questions that you highlighted there?
There's a question here. Would you please describe the word evil in Kabbalah?
Evil in Kabbalah?
From Marty.M.Meydan from Iran, who lives in Turkey.
Great. If I'm on the path, if I'm studying the wisdom of Kabbalah and I want to attain the Creator, then I'm going to hate anything that keeps me from attaining the Creator. That's evil. Whatever keeps me from doing that.
Okay, there's another very good question here.
Which is the will to receive. It's the ego every time. Go ahead.
How do I love the Creator without seeing Him?
Exactly. Exactly. How can I say that I want to have a relationship with the Creator if I don't see Him? That keeps you. That's why you go to the group. That's why, because you don't have any. This is the second standpoint. Thank you. Very good. We entered it. This is why we have the group. I cannot say to myself in any relationship with a rock, with special animals there in the safari, or whatever's going on, I don't know, with some like concentrated meditation that I'm doing or something on my body or whatever it is. How can I love something? How could I, before I even come to love, how can I even just have any kind of regard towards this force if I don't see it? If I don't see it, then it could be whatever I want. But surely, if I'm infinitely opposite to it, then there's no way for me to detect what that is, except for in a group, except for from love of others comes the love of the Creator.
Chris, we have some couple of questions here you may want to touch on.
Please, I want to touch on as many as possible.
Which relates to hate. Okay, and I'll read the Mary from South Korea.
Before you even say anything, when we talk about hate, we don't talk about hate. We don't talk about hate because the hate is something that that in itself is a reward. It's like a good sign. It is it's advanced to have the hate that the wisdom of Kabbalah talks about. Now, if you're talking about hating someone's qualities, like this guy picks his nose, I'm not saying you pick your nose. He picks his nose, though. And I hate that about it. I hate that about him. Whatever. It's like disgusts me, and I can't. That's not hatred. And hatred in the wisdom of Kabbalah. Hatred in the wisdom of Kabbalah is a result of I don't know how deep to take that. I'll just say hatred. The first degree of hatred that you discover will only be a result of. It'll be the degree right before you reach the first connection. Your first connection. Okay. So if you haven't reached your first connection, and if it's very unclear, because when you're climbing the ladder, you are very sure you know where you are. So if you don't know where you are, then it's a sign that you probably haven't reached the hatred that you need to have, which you will recognize as part of the opposite side of the first degree.
Okay, so I'll read the three questions.
Go ahead.
And get a feel of it here. Mm-hmm. Mary from South Korea. Hi, Mary. Great that you joined us. It is easy to hate or pity your enemies. How can we love them? That's the first question.
Okay.
Omid from Iran says, how can we love in a word with a lot of hate? We live in a rough world. And
Okay,
yeah,
let's just take the first one. Mary from South Korea?
Yeah.
That's cool. She's from South Korea.
Yeah.
That's cool. How do you love the Creator? That is... No, sorry, I'm not reading.
Yeah,
Is
okay.
it easy?
Is it to hate or pity your enemies? How can we love them? It is easy to hate or pity your enemies. But how can we love them?
Yeah. Let's think of it like this. Let's think about creation for a second. How creation is formatted. You have your relatives, and you have your husband or your wife or your kids, and then your grandkids, and it kind of stretches out, and that's kind of your tree. You call it your family tree. Then you have those that you're kind of connected to, like in your community, and you have like the doctors who will like tend you, and you have service professionals that do things, and you're in this kind of interaction, meaning that you have this understanding that there are these kinds of people that exist, and they build within you this world of your world, meaning the impressions of these instances in reality, meaning the plumber or this person who is a doctor or someone who goes to my church or something, or anything like that, then that kind of places within me some kind of template of how reality is built, and I understand it, and I can somewhat kind of sense that. I sense that they're there. But if, say, that I've never been to or I've never seen, with the internet it's really hard to depict this actually now, because pretty much everyone's seen everything if you have the internet. But you have to just imagine, you can't imagine a place that you've never seen. You can't do that. I mean, you can imagine it, but somehow it's a correlation of something you have seen and haven't seen, and put it together, and the difference between them becomes the thing that you haven't seen. You're still using something you've seen. But just try to imagine that that's the kind of the state. So that's how your reality is felt. So when you talk about enemies, that's just another layer. People that you actually hate. So you have people who are close to your relatives, and the people that are kind of surrounded you, and then there's other people that impress you, meaning that they have a certain impression on you, and you feel them to a certain degree, but you feel them with an attitude of hate. Meaning that they're like really bothering you. They're bothering your ego. They make it difficult for you to live. They make it difficult. They make it uncomfortable for you. They give you a bad feeling in your stomach because you have this. You just hate the thing that they do. You hate their face, and you hate this. That is that's given to us. That's later. We leave that alone. We're not out there to correct the world. We're not out there to correct those layers of the family, of the external family, of the doctors, of those haters. We're not in the wisdom of Kabbalah to go out there and be freedom fighters for the whole world. There's actually a layer that's closer to the people than my family and my relatives. There's one layer closer, and that is what I talked about earlier, the nation of Israel, or the people who want to be together and come together and define love your others, love of others to love of the Creator. Those people who want to come together and do that together, from there, that's the only thing that you are dealing with. That's the only thing you're engaged in. You're not engaged in doing anything external. This is a completely different topic about how to behave and how to interpret certain things that you hear in the wisdom of Kabbalah. But as a fundamental, just stand with this until something else becomes. Until you have a different discernment from this, what I'm saying right now. Just hold on to it, but stay with this, that you only bring the force of connection and correction into the world from this small point where the nation of Israel connects, meaning love of friends, meaning where you have someone who studies Kabbalah and wants to reveal the Creator, and you want to connect with him. That's the only place. This contact between you, that's the pipeline to the rest of the world, to the rest of the nations. And so when you talk about evil and hatred and all that stuff, if it's on the outside, you just observe that that's the Creator who's out there in your reality, and he's acting a certain way, but you in no way can have any effect of correcting that person. Anything you correct on the outside world is only a result of the connection, of correcting the connections between you, between the love of friends.
Okay.
Other questions?
Yep. There's.
Hazy, are we going to 11:30? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's take some more questions because I'm scared to leave them out on like a hook, you know.
Arturo from Miami says, "How can I bring contentment to the Creator?"
Whoa. That's what is you read about that? Oh, right, because that is at the end of the day, that is our goal. But I mean, if you kind of felt the atmosphere of the lesson today, that is such a how do you say, sublime kind of goal already. We can't even grasp what it means to bring contentment to the Creator, because that means that we already have some kind of sense of His relation towards me, His attitude towards me, and also I already have a discernment of my relation towards Him, and from that already then I have a relation that I want to do contentment to Him instead, or that's the goal that I want to have. So that's already a result of many discernments that you'll have later on in the path. But to bring contentment towards the Creator is simply just to let Him be revealed, which means that I want to create this desire that I talked about earlier from the despair and the frustration that I have of not being able to connect with others. This kind of rubbing of my ego and irritating it and agitating it. This movement and warmth that you get from that, it expands and it becomes a desire. And if that desire necessarily is to want to do good to the Creator, to want the Creator to reveal there, and that is doing Him contentment. So just being on the path, focusing and taking our teachers' advice and following their advice, and just doing everything that you possibly can, and by listening to the person who is giving us everything that they can in the lessons and from your teachers and everything. Just listening and just trying it on yourself. That's all you can do. Just taking the advices. If you don't want to try it, and you don't want to take the advice, you don't have to. But if you do want to, you have advices and you can try them on yourself, and you can discover everything.
Yeah, there's a sentence in Kabbalah which I really love. It says, "Come and your soul will be your teacher." There's no human being. You go through the experiences within yourself and through your own internal feelings and emotions and transformations, you learn. And you learn within yourself. The changes happens within you. So that's a sentence that I really love myself.
Wait, 1 second. Let me read this real quick. He's in Bala Sulam, in the introduction to the study of 10 Sefirot. This is also in Kabbalah for the student. It's just quick, so you probably won't even get to it by the time I finish, but it's on page 343, item 69. It says, "Thus we must understand the essence of the love of God from the properties of love by which one person relates to another." That sentence is the wisdom of Kabbalah. And if you're ever confused, just read that sentence again. Thus we must understand the essence of love of God, meaning if love of God means that I have equivalence of foreign with Him, and I have this relation towards Him, which is called love, because that's what I feel from Him, and I want to give it back to Him. So that will be my attitude naturally. And to understand the essence of the love of God from the properties of love by which one person relates to another, meaning I can only get that if I provide the backdrop for the projector to show the image, His image. Meaning if I want Him to reveal, I have to bring Him my vessel, meaning I have to bring Him my connection with others, which is the backdrop of this source of light which projects on there. And without this, I cannot attain it. I cannot see it. I'll draw it here maybe for a quick second. I always like using this example. If I have like a flashlight here or something, I hope this is already clear. If I have this flashlight, and then it has these light waves. This is how it is in a vacuum, right in space. And so then I have this, and these are the waves here, and they are just flowing, and nothing can detect them until you put something in front of it, and then you can see whether it's a green light, whether it's a blue light, depending on what this material is, right? So if this material says what reflects green, then I'll see that it's green, and if it's red, then I see that it reflects red, so forth and so on. But I won't know what any of those are, and it depends on what this material is here. It depends on this material. Whatever this material is, that's how I reveal it. So we say that the Creator is a certain. It's a certain source. It's a certain source of light, we'll say even, and we have to bring it a certain matter, a certain material for it to appear on. And why was I talking about that? Because, and that's the love of friends. This is love of friends. Meaning, this is too thin, so it looks like a children's writing, a drawing. Meaning this is love of friends, which is the material, it's the matter that I bring to the Creator for Him to reveal. It doesn't work with anything else. He is a frequency that can only be received if I have the correct receiver, meaning the love of friends.
Okay. There's a question here from Hartwig from South Africa. It says, how can we fool or overcome our will to receive, our ego, so we can come closer to the love of friends?
Man. Hartwig's on fire.
Powerful
That's all it is. That's all it is. It's all a game, and it's all tricking the ego, because the ego won't even let you. It won't let you get closer. You constantly have to trick it.
Cheers, everyone.
and say, no, actually, ego, it is worthwhile for me to do such and such because look at the reward. And that's how we have to start off. That's exactly how we have to start off. We have to say, well, why did I come to this assembly of friends? What were my reasons? And you will find that they were egoistic reasons, but it got you there. So that's how you start. And you have to constantly trick the ego, but this inner dialogue with the ego, meaning you see that you're kind of this third, you may have said like out of body, or what did you say? You're like third. You said like body and soul thing.
Yeah,
this
separation.
is it. You start peeling back a little bit. You have this observation point, and you see, okay, these are the influences that I'm receiving. I'm feeling a certain way, and I want to take those influences and relate correctly towards them. I want to receive them the way that I need to receive them in order to expand and to grow the correct way. And what was the question?
I should have deleted it.
It's Control Z, Control Z, Control Z.
Control Z.
Yeah. Another time until it comes back. Oh, how many passes do you do?
Okay, here we go.
Fool ourselves.
Yep.
Right. So, you constantly have to work to I forgot where I was going actually. Sorry, Hardwick. But it's good. It's good. You always have to control your ego, have the ego in the reins, and look at one way and the other, and see the ways that you need to manipulate yourself in order to receive this influence of the light, which will change you. Doesn't matter what you do. Doesn't matter what excuses. Just get there, and make sure you're in the place where your future form will be. And if you want to be there, then you'll receive that future form's influence, and you will receive the changes.
And also the importance of the group and the environment.
That's your future form, by the way. That's your future form, is the environment. Is an environment, meaning a group which is closer and closer together. The future form. So for you, the future form is going to be the first spiritual degree. How do you know what that is? I don't know what it is. But by playing with it, by like a little kid who like has these like little toys, and he has his blocks, and he's like sitting there like drooling all over the place, and you have someone that's like out there from above like looking at the kids, and the kid's like doing like this, stacking all the cups and doing stuff, and he doesn't really know what he's doing, but he's just kind of doing something, and all of a sudden says, "Oh, whoa," and he stacked. But he didn't do anything consciously. He was just moving his arms and legs and kind of just doing like the motions. But because he was under the influence of the correct society with the correct values and with the goals that will get you to the revelation of Creator, he ended up building the right thing. And no one's smart. Everyone starts from zero. Everyone has the same efforts that they need to do. Everyone has the same well, not the same efforts. You'll see that, but everyone needs to make the efforts according to their abilities, and everyone has their own abilities. That's why it's different. But that's why it's important just to do the work. And by doing these mechanical actions from coming from nothing and receiving the importance of the goal and being able to have that fuel in your gas tank in order to make more actions, you'll understand how you need to work with the environment and work with the system. And this is why none as wise as the experience. It's just this interaction, constant interaction, and it's like impulse reaction, and by that I understand the giver, and I understand the environment. I understand me a little bit more, and I understand how I'm growing, and then the goal becomes much clearer, and eventually I understand what the first degree is, and then I can yearn for that.
And also the great thing about the wisdom is that you're not alone. With a group of friends, you are in an environment where the ego gets treated, so to speak. There'll be further discussions about that, but the important thing is that nobody's alone, okay, and which is a great thing. You always have friends, you have an environment, you have your books, the teacher, the group, etc., and you work with those three elements together to move along the path. There's no such thing as being alone, which is a terrific thing. Okay, great.
That's actually a good point. I kind of want to end on this warmth point that you made. Well, maybe we'll take another question, but if it's not really like matching so well with how I end this, then don't break it, because I do want to end it with this: that when you guys are starting to develop a little bit more on the path, you'll be introduced to the group work and get actually more involved in that. Because you'll want to advance. You're just seeing that everyone else is talking about things maybe that you don't understand, and they understand them because they're working in a group, and you also want to join a group. That's generally how it happens. But what he just mentioned is good, and I kind of want to end on that a little bit. That the people that you end up being together with, if you find yourself in a physical group or a virtual group or whatever it will be, those people just become the closest people to you, closer than your family, closer than anything, because you're building a different kind of connection with them than the connection that you were given, say with your relatives or with your spouse or whoever. You're building a different kind of connection, and you feel them closer because you are coming closer to your root, the root of your soul, and you've been longing towards that your whole life, and you didn't know it. And you didn't know that you were longing towards that until you start to come close to it. But you see that that's really the only place that this miracle can happen, is between this group of people. And it becomes a very special place for you. And of course you'll get different disturbances and different confusions, which is completely natural along the way. But there is a little bit of a element of excitement when it comes to like meeting other people who I remember that you studied with, and you haven't met them yet, and because there's kind of this longing to just start the work already and to start doing it. You probably remember whenever you first found your group, and everyone kind of goes through the same thing. Sure. But it's just something exciting, and so if any of this sounds like, if your ego is really feeling hurt by hearing this, that's good. And if you still want to stay on the path because you are willing to go through this thing, meaning coming closer to others, if you're willing to do that, and you have that force, then that's great. That means that you're going to be with us, and you're going to continue to receive more and more just an expansion of reality, and you'll be able to you'll be happy and content that you've found something that's pretty much like the only thing that's worthwhile to do, to engage in. And if you haven't felt that yet, then you will. And I'm just very excited. I'm very excited, and I'm very happy to just be in this interaction with you, and to have this kind of new student feel in the teacher, and it's just exciting. And I'm sorry we haven't been changing teachers a lot. There's just a lot of like absences and sicknesses, and we always try to cover for each other.
Chris actually invited me in today because he likes my smile. He says, you look good on camera, John. So please
He's always
join
very
us.
genuine, very genuine.
No, I'm joking.
It's just good, you know. It's just very warm, and there's like a whole thing that's happening back here that you don't know about. So sorry for switching all the teachers and stuff, and you know I apologize for that. But if you want to read, do you have one more question that's suitable, that like kind of matches this like feeling of like happiness maybe?
Maybe we can end with there was two other questions here, which was about studying Kabbalah with people outside and etc.
No.
But
Don't do
question
that.
with Paul
Wait,
from
let me
the
just
UK.
answer that. Let me answer that. Don't do that.
Ah.
No, we don't do that.
Can
Don't
we
study with Kabbalah.
can we reveal? Jose Carlos says, can we reveal the Creator with normal people
No,
that don't study Kabbalah?
no,
I mean, in a day-to-day relations with people that don't study the Kabbalah, the Creator, and cannot be
no,
revealed.
you can't. And don't try. And if you were just dying to try, then just try to do just damage control, or ahead of time. But it's just that's just not how it works. Like I talked about the whole time, there's a system, you have to work with it a certain way. That's not how the system works. That's not how it's built, and that's not how we act. But there was another part to that.
Yep, there's another one. Maybe you would like to do this answer as well, Chris. Jose Carlos as well. So another question: does the Creator know that I'm praying? And it gives me better results for that.
The Creator is giving you the thought. He's giving you. It says it in Shemati. You're not going to be able to find it probably right now. It says in Shemati, if all of a sudden I'm reminded of the Creator, it's because the Creator wanted me to be reminded of Him. That any kind of like knowing that the Creator, and that's what I'm saying. You have to start. It's hard. I understand it's hard to change the mindset of relating to this thing called the Creator as this force in a system, and I need to face this system in order to reveal that force. And that force doesn't have an attitude. It doesn't have patience. It doesn't have some kind of judgment. It's just simply only bestowing. And I'm the one that I'm the one that needs to undergo the changes. And praying in Kabbalah is just looking, like Johnny mentioned a couple of times, that outer point that looks at the self, that looks at the desires and scrutinizes in order to get more discernment about where I stand in relation to the Creator, which can only be done by saying, where do I stand in connection with the friends? Where am I? Where is my attitude in love of friends?
One last question.
Yeah.
I think it's a nice question
Okay,
to end
great.
with. Paul from the UK asks, what is love? What is love? You know the song?
What is love? Everyone has their own definition of love. Love is something. It's just something you can't talk about until it's like saying, what's the Creator? Because it is the Creator. Love is just this. It's the result. It's the connection. It's the thing that binds us together. And if it's like saying, I don't know how do two hydrogen atoms connect to each other? What is that force there? It's like so strong, and it's keeps them. It's part of physics. It's part of chemistry. It's part of this law. That if these two things want to be together, then they need to be connected by a force, a hydrogen bond or something, whatever you want to call it. And for revealing the Creator, if these two parts, meaning these 2 points in the heart that are separated from each other, if they want to come together, they need a quality, they need something called love between them, which is just the revelation of the Creator. So, Hezi, we have a clip that we'll end on. So it's the one that's the one law, the law of love. If you can hit that in a second. If you guys want to, I'm not sure, but you can read the page. You can read the piece. It's in Kabbalah for the Student, page 264. Maybe you can type that in there. Type in because
I can't, Chris.
you can't type anything.
No,
you can't
I
ask a
can't.
question. So, anyways, I'll say it one more time. It's on page 264 in this green book. If you want to read it after we're gone here, it'll kind of give you a little extra expansion on what we talked about and learning about the laws of nature. And so it's 264, the piece, and it's an article by Bala Salam. We read it a lot during the morning lessons, and it's just one that you can constantly return to and just pull more out of each time. That's it for us. We're done. We're going to close with a clip. Johnny, thank you so much. It was great to be with you, man.
Good to be here.
I had a good time. Thank you for everyone who was listening and watching and who was returning on the thing. Watch the clip and have a good time. We'll see you next time.
See you soon. Bye.
Around us, one law operates. the law of love. Everything operates and is managed accordingly. Everything but man. Man is surrounded by a shell called ego. He lives in it and thinks only about himself. But if in the past one could still live in such a manner, today we can't. The ego has reached its highest level, and it threatens all the population of Earth. All the suffering in our world, hurricanes, wars, disease, the crisis in the banks. Its goal is to push us, humans, to exit our egoistic shell and live according to the laws of love instead of hatred. To make us, because if not, we won't want to do this. Can we prevent this suffering? Certainly. We just need to begin and want to unite on our own. No, it won't help us to just hold hands. Nothing will change if a few egoists will cooperate. We need to unite in our hearts. And for the sake of that, we need to begin to correct our egoism even before other blows come. How do we do this? This is exactly what the wisdom of Kabbalah explains.